Dear Earthmates, we are visiting Professor Andy Chebanne in Botswana. Professor Andy Chebanne and I met technologically in 1997 when I invited various intellectuals around the world to celebrate World Poetry Day, and his positive feedback was very important. Since then, I've been meaning to visit Botswana, dear Andy Chebanne. I hope one day I'll be able to. And I read your CV at the University of Botswana, Humanities Department, and you're always busy, I guess.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you, colleagues. It's good afternoon from here, but for most of you, it might be good morning.
Yeah,
yes. So from Botswana, with all the best regards, I greet you all. Indeed, it's true. We met technologically. You even sent me a manuscript that I looked through, Tariq. So I appreciated that friendship, that kind of collegiality. So yes, so we come from far. It is almost like over 20 years now. Yes. So this is good. So I'm here, and Botswana is a summer. This time around, we are expecting some rains, and it's hot. Today it was 33 degrees, so it's very hot, 33 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so here I am.
And you're a linguist, language sciences you focus on. And
yes.
How did your interest in languages or in linguistics start?
Well, I did my my degrees in France, and I also visited a lot to Netherlands. Was in Leiden conferences and linguistics. So my interest in linguistics really is developmental. When I was an undergraduate, I was more of a science student. An environmentalist, a biologist, and then I switched on. Maybe I had challenges in pure sciences, so I switched on to linguistics, and I found that it was quite interesting because subsequently, I could not tell then, but subsequently, I moved into our minority languages here in Botswana. We have quite a lot, those that we call Khoisan languages. They are still considered quote unquote indigenous languages because they are spoken by populations which are ancient, which have been here for a long, long time, and they are still so much attached to their environment, to their land, and therefore this really motivated me to go outside linguistics, to go into indigenous knowledge systems, and then go into also a certain understanding of populations and the environment. I've published some articles with people from Maison, Fondation de Maison de l'Homme, from France and Canada. They are geographers, those collaborators, but we did write about how modernity impacts some of these indigenous people who find it difficult to just move quickly into engaging modern sort of lifestyles. So that's how really I broadened my interest in linguistics and also in social sciences and also in environment and population. So I'm quite broad these days. I wouldn't just say I'm in linguistics, so I'm just quite broad. Anything that comes, sometimes I just tackle it, you know, with my eyes closed, so to say. Yes.
You like mental adventures, and you are a visiting professor to Kyoto.
Yes, yes, yes.
I was there in 2010. Wonderful city and very interesting.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yes.
I was there in 2007. I spent almost an academic year there. I
Wonderful.
did a lot of research, linguistic research. So I'm quite familiar with Kyoto and some areas of Japan. Also Tokyo, the University of Foreign Languages. I visited it and held some conferences and seminars there. So yes, I'm quite a world visitor.
And you did your PhD at Université Stendhal. Do you like Stendhal as a novelist?
Oh, well.
What can you say now? What a question.
Yeah, well, Stendhal was a man of letters, so homme de lettres, en français on peut dire. Yes, somehow, why he got this honor for a university to be given his name is that he marked some literary movement of his age in an important way. This is really the beginning of modern thinking in France, where a novel becomes like a social account, an anthropological account. So in that manner, he's an important figure in France, in French literary tradition, Stendhal. Otherwise, the university, it was called Grenoble 3, Grenoble 3, Langues et Lettres, Languages and Literature. So yes, I think I had a very good experience there because I met very eminent linguists, very eminent literary critics. And so all this, you know, it builds someone's appreciation of the world, the knowledge that is handled and traded in the world. So at the end, what is valuable in the world is not a compartmentalized knowledge, but it is a knowledge that relates to many disciplines, that informs many instances, many disciplines. It's knowledge that is collaborative. So it is very important to see the world not as a compartment, but as an interrelated knowledge domain. So that's how really I grew up in the scholarship in France and in quite a lot in the Netherlands. And I'm collaborating with colleagues also in Germany and the US, Japan, South Africa, and then lately I have some proposal to collaborate with some Brazilians. So all this to demonstrate that we are not just in our little turfs, in our little corners, but we can be exposed to the world and share a little bit of the knowledge that we generate or the knowledge that we receive.
True, and this holistic approach is vital, really. And actually, that's why there is this Earth Civilization Network, and with earthmates from various fields interacting, learning from each other, and in trying to improve the synergy. When your video stopped showing you, Andy, are you there?
No,
oh yes,
I'm there.
You're back. You're back. And Stendhal's Red and Black, the novel, it has been on my reading list since I was a youngster. It is still on my reading list, and I hope to read it in my 70s. It's one of the classics I have failed to read. And of course, how about from colonialism to post-colonial era? What would you like these two periods and the transition? And
well, of late, I'm interested in the colonial and post-colonial and neo-colonial interpretations of what is happening in the world, especially as African. We were concerned, not concerned in the sense of worried, but we were part of these three epochs, three sort of historical moments. The colonial experience in Africa is one of the most painful one. That the colonial experience failed to see Africa as a civilizational unit, and the scramble for Africa in the 1880s, 1885, where Africa was partitioned according to colonial interests, did a lot of damage, civilizational damage.
Berlin, that was a Berlin
Yes.
Conference, was it? The Berlin
Yeah,
Conference.
it was painful, it was destructive,
Yeah.
Civilizationally destructive, because Africans were seen as part and parcels of colonial interests, not as a people with their civilization. So colonialism is painful in that regard, that the partitioning of Africa, at the end, the consequences are the weakening of Africa. So when now you speak as an African, you don't make any weight, because colonialism did not recognize you as a legitimate sort of human entity. You are subsumed under France, under Britain, under Portugal, under Spain, and whichever power came in. So that's the colonial experience, the pain of it, that it completely broke down the African civilizational value. So we put it aside, we go into post-colonial Africa. Post-colonial Africa has not completely left the what I shall call the arms of colonialism. We are still called Anglophone Africans, Francophone Africans, Lusophone Africans, Arabophone Africans. So it means there is something in Africa post-colonially that indicates or demonstrates that there has never been a complete rupture, a complete division, a complete, I would say, there's never been independence. We are still so much attached to these linguistic identities of colonialism. Now, so we can put it aside and say, the third moment then is the neo-colonialism. You see in many ways, big powers, one way or the other, they are trying now to come in another color to repossess Africa. Now through economic might, economic subjugation, and other conditions, modern condition, technology, and all the cultures associated with. So Africa is at a very critical moment in its history that it is still carrying on all the baggages taken from colonialism. And some people have some fear that in 30 years, 50 years, Africa could really be recolonized if it is not careful. African leaders need to wake up at this critical moment and demonstrate that they are a significant part of the world civilization. If they cannot do it now, it is going to be lost forever. Because look at what's happening. Technology which comes to Africa is a consuming technology. It renders African consumers, not inventors. So if we cannot just change, we are going to be in trouble. Look at the fashion, the kind of, yes, the fashion, the culture that is coming all over. It's so much heavily weighed. An African can no longer stand up and say, this is my culture, this is my fashion, this is how I contribute to the world. So everything that an African is becoming is what he consumes from elsewhere. Look at also education. We are not really making a very important contribution in educational development. We tend to be convinced so easily, so superficially, that without English, we cannot be educated. Without French, we cannot be educated. Without some European or American kind of curriculum, we cannot be educated. This is a problem for Africa, that moving forward, looking at there is an Agenda 2063 for Africa, which will be the culmination of the fourth industrial revolution. It will not happen in Africa if we are still like little babies handheld by a mother or still fed with maternal milk, which is to be Europe or whatever world. So we need that kind of decisive separation or decisive independence to do what will be African, what will stand out to be African, and what will be a feature of an African sort of civilization. I mean, look at Asia. Each country has a more representative contribution to the world civilization. A country, but Africa as a whole continent with 54 countries, they don't make a mark. Why? Because they have not seriously divorced themselves from the colonial jug. So this is a problem for Africa. I don't know how it can be done, but maybe it's for leaders to start to realize that they need to remake Africa so that they remake the world in which Africa will belong as a continent with its population.
Yes, very important issues. There is a growing interaction on our planet, and each civilization has something to offer Africa as well. And because humanity originated in Africa, according to science, in a way, we are all Africans, and Africa is our home continent is the home continent of humanity. So ethically, I hold Africa #1 among continents, and we all humans, we owe a lot to Africa, to African people. And if we can consider history as a big chain of interactions, as some of them are violent, unfortunately, dialogue and learning from each other can eventually help all of us to build an Earth civilization. I want to call it an Earth civilization focusing on the planet. And you focus on learner-based approach. You mentioned getting rid of the position of a baby that is stuck or connected to mother too much. Is that why you focus on learner-based approach? Because that means learner-based, you want autonomous individuals in a way. The person who is learning, I enjoy saying, we don't teach, you learn, to my granddaughter, for example.
Yeah. No, let me start where you were saying there is need of interactions between people and between civilization. Yes, it's very important. But for this interaction to be meaningful, it has to have all the interactors to have a certain equality in status and equality for the purpose of that interaction. What has happened, you can look quickly through the sort of international fora, international organizations where Africans have been involved to interact with other people. But they come there as very weak people that still need guidance. Very weak people that have no power even to submit a statement that will be of any consequence in the world affairs. So that's one problem with Africa, that ever fighting to really appeal to the leaders of Africa to stand up as men and talk to their peers in the world and show what they are made of, intellectually, mentally, and civilizationally. So that's one thing. And then coming to education and the way it should be centered to the learner, that one is very important because this is the critical aspect of education, which makes every learner to be self-conscious. To be self-conscious does not necessarily mean to divorce yourself from other people. It only says you learn better, you assimilate and know knowledge better when you do that from your own terms, from your better experiences, from your better understanding. So that's how learner-centered education should operate, not an education that is just pushed on into something like a tabula rasa. You know, you're an empty skull and then someone is filling you up and then you think you are educated. Africa has gotten used to this kind of education. That's why we still believe that the belonging to the Commonwealth of the British Commonwealth is one way of benefiting from the use of English in education. This is not true and it cannot be right. It will not educate an African. We believe belonging to Francophone and to the world of influence of French is the way to be, you know, to have access to the technology that is occurring, it's happening all over the world. It's not true. There are many countries in Asia that are now demonstrating that such kind of perceptions of other people's knowledge domains, other people's knowledge vehicles, that is language, are the way to learnedness. No, we cannot believe that you learn through being surrogated to another person's knowledge and technology. You can learn out of your experiences. Actually, experience is the best teacher. And you can be innovative out of the challenges, authentic challenges of your experiences in the world. So this is one thing that should happen to Africa so that we truly become collaborators, participants in invention, in innovation. We can't do it whilst we are still under the tutel of some power, colonial or otherwise. We cannot do that. So it's very important to come to that approach in education, which is a liberating education, an education for self-sustenance, and education for determining your own destiny as a person in this world.
Yes, and the soul, if there is one, the soul of democracy is based on this approach, I think. Each noun is a hidden verb, I want to say. Democracy is a hidden, each noun implies action or should imply action. So instead of democracy, I want to say democratization. And I think all countries in the world need democratization. There is not a single country where democracy is good enough. The more, and we need collaboration, as you say, a worldwide collaboration. And in Senegal, my friend Racine Senghor, the poet, who's the president of the Museum of Black Civilizations, and in Algeria, my novelist friend Mohamed Magani, they all contributed to this series of dialogues. And this is what else would you like to say to earthmates, to youngsters and all ages and past? You have been saying, actually, you have been addressing with wonderful messages. What else would you like to add?
Yeah, let me start by this important term that you've raised, which is democracy. Democracy is very important if semantically it means what it says.
Yes.
Power by the people or governance by the people. If that's what really it could really generate and deliver, it's wonderful. But you will see, even in the Western world, even all over, democracy is now a hijacked concept in governance. That, for instance, in the United States, if you don't have $1 in your pocket, you cannot go and fight for an election and hope to win. You will not. All over the world, democracy is now hijacked by those with $1 in their pocket. Now, bring it to Africa, where this little dollar is so little, or if ever it comes into the pocket, is so corrupt. Can democracy mean what it is, what it means from the semantics of it? It cannot be. You've got conflicting interests in the construct of the notion of democracy. Some people believe democracy should be what is reflected within their cultural or religious context, social context. Others believe it is the dictatorship of the majority. So anyone who is a minority is not catered for. Others will believe that democracy is the pulling out of a certain elite which should have the intelligence and the means to rule on the populations. So you see how this word democracy has been corrupted. It needs now to be reconstructed, re-engineered to actually reflect the true will of the people, so that when they say they are democratic, what they mean reflects what they want. So that's one thing important. The second thing is that we are in a critical point in time in the history of the earth or the world or of the cosmology that we know. We are now thinking of planets beyond Earth, beyond. So we need to be a responsible people on this earth, not to cause disturbances in our environment, in our atmosphere, disturbances beyond our world that will have everlasting repercussion, consequences that cannot be reversed. We are talking of climate change. I don't think many people are even so much aware of what goes into engaging a debate on climate change. I don't think so. Because as long as we associate climate change with certain fashions of certain people, with certain technologies, we will not really send the message down to earth, to the people who need to understand what it is at stake when you talk about climate change. It's a whole damage to the earth, which is happening when the climate is changing, when the climate is disturbed, when nothing is no longer predictable, when seasons come and go in a manner that we have never seen before, when oceans turn out to be monsters to the earth, deserts ever gaining grounds on virgin forests, all these things, rains shifting their geography, winds changing their directions, all this tells you that the earth is in trouble. That's what I want my colleagues and I want this forum listening to me to understand, that we need, as the people of this world, of this earth, to be responsible enough to ensure that we secure this world for posterity. Generations that are coming, 2-3 generations from here, end of this century, they are going to be shocked when they read from history that the world used to be habitable. Now is something else. I don't think it's a good history. Let us be responsible enough today to make a good history for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Andy Chebanne. We're together. Thank you so much. To be continued. We're together.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. All the best.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.